In the heart of Willow Creek, where Sunday afternoons unfold with the unhurried charm of a small town, life typically drifts along like a lazy river. The local supermarket buzzed with the usual rhythm, carts squeaking across polished floors, scanners beeping at checkout, and shoppers exchanging soft chatter over their grocery lists. Amid the hum of everyday life, a little girl in a bright pink dress moved through the aisles, her small hand clasped tightly in the grip of a man towering over her. To the distracted eye, they were just another father and daughter picking out cereal or snacks. But to those who paused, who looked beyond the surface, there was something off, something in the way her eyes didn't sparkle with the curiosity of childhood but instead held a quiet, desperate plea, as if she were screaming for help without uttering a single word. Her gaze was fixed, guarded, and heavy with an unspoken fear that seemed to beg someone, anyone, to notice her. Officer Daniel Hayes, a seasoned cop with 15 years on the force, wasn't supposed to be a hero that day. Off-duty and strolling through the supermarket to grab groceries for his own kids, he was just another shopper, scanning the shelves for his daughter's favorite cereal. But something caught his eye, a flicker of movement, subtle but deliberate. The girl's small hand lifted, her palm open, fingers slightly tucked, held briefly in front of her chest before dropping back to her side. It was quick, almost imperceptible, and if Daniel hadn't attended a recent seminar on child rescue signals, he might have brushed it off as nothing. But he recognized it instantly, the silent hand signal for "help me." His heart slammed against his ribs, adrenaline surging as his training kicked in. This wasn't a casual Sunday errand anymore. This was a moment that could change a life, or end one. Daniel didn't rush toward them. He knew better. Charging in could spook the man and put the girl in greater danger. Instead, he slowed his pace, pretending to browse the shelves, his eyes flicking toward the pair in his peripheral vision. The man holding her hand was rough around the edges, tattoos snaking up his arm, a watch with a cracked face glinting under the fluorescent lights, and a grip on the girl that looked more like possession than protection. She didn't speak, didn't smile, didn't look around with the wonder of a child in a store full of treats. She simply followed where he led, her steps smaller and hesitant, her eyes darting only once more toward Daniel, carrying a flicker of hope that pierced through the ordinary noise of the supermarket. Every second mattered now. Daniel's training told him situations like this could spiral in an instant, so he moved with calculated care. He tapped his earpiece, murmuring a discreet code to dispatch, alerting them to a possible abduction in progress without drawing attention. As the pair moved toward the back of the store, Daniel followed at a safe distance, his senses sharpened. The man glanced over his shoulder twice, his movements growing jerky, as if he sensed the clock ticking. The girl's steps seemed to falter, almost as if she were trying to slow him down without making it obvious. When they passed the freezer section, her eyes met Daniel's again, wide, pleading, and now carrying a faint glimmer of trust, as if she knew he'd seen her signal. Backup was on the way, but every instinct screamed that time was running out. The man's body language radiated urgency, his shoulders tense, his pace quickening like someone who knew their window was closing. The next few minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Daniel trailed them past the dairy section, then toward a side exit rarely used by customers, a door that led to a quiet alley where a car could be waiting. His mind raced, calculating the risks. If the man reached that exit, they could vanish before help arrived. Daniel picked up his pace, his footsteps firm but quiet, careful not to alert the suspect too soon. He positioned himself closer, feigning interest in a display of stacked soda cans, his eyes never leaving the pair. The man's grip tightened on the girl's arm, and she winced, her tiny frame tilting as she struggled to keep up. Her pink dress fluttered slightly, a stark contrast to the tension radiating from her small body. Daniel's chest tightened. He couldn't let her disappear through that door. Then came the moment that would haunt Daniel, and define him, for years to come. Just feet from the side exit, the man glanced around, his movements sharp and nervous, and yanked the girl faster. Daniel stepped forward, his voice cutting through the air like a blade. steady and commanding, "Police. Stop right there." The man froze, tension radiating from him like heat from a fire. For a split second, the air between them felt heavy with possibility. Would he fight, flee, or surrender? The girl's eyes darted between the two men, her little chest rising and falling rapidly, her breath shallow with fear and hope. The man stammered, his voice low and unconvincing, muttering something about a misunderstanding, but Daniel wasn't buying it. His gaze stayed locked on the man, his stance ready for any sudden move. Just then, the faint sound of boots on tiles signaled backup arriving. Officers swarmed in, surrounding the pair in a swift, coordinated move. The girl was gently pried from the man's grasp and ushered into Daniel's arms. He knelt to her level, his voice soft but firm, "You're safe now. I've got you." It was only then that her tiny frame began to shake, silent tears streaming down her cheeks as she clung to him, her small hands gripping his shirt like a lifeline. The truth unraveled quickly after that, and it was as heartbreaking as it was chilling. The man wasn't her father, not even a relative. She'd been taken from a park 2 towns over, snatched in broad daylight while her parents turned their backs for just a moment. For days, they'd been living in a nightmare, scouring every possible place, fearing the worst with every passing hour. The girl, whose name was Lily, had been taught the hand signal by her school, a quiet lesson in safety that most kids never need to use. But Lily did, and it saved her life. That supermarket rescue wasn't just luck, it was a miracle born of a single gesture and one man's sharp eyes. Daniel's quick thinking, his refusal to ignore what others might have dismissed, brought her back to her family. The next day, Daniel visited Lily's family. When her mother opened the door and saw him standing there, she collapsed into his arms, sobbing words of gratitude over and over, her voice breaking with relief. Lily peeked from behind her mother, clutching a stuffed bunny, its ears worn from being held so tightly. She didn't say much, but her eyes, those same eyes that had silently screamed for help, now held a spark of something new. A small, genuine smile curved her lips, tentative but real, as if she were beginning to believe in safety again. Daniel felt a lump in his throat. He hadn't just done his job that day. He'd answered the quietest cry for help, the kind most people never hear. The story of the little girl in the pink dress rippled through Willow Creek, a reminder that awareness can be the difference between tragedy and hope. It wasn't just about one cop or one signal, it was about a community waking up to the power of paying attention. Lily's parents shared their story with anyone who would listen, urging others to learn the signs, to teach their kids, to watch for the small things that could save a life. The supermarket, once just a place for groceries, became a symbol of second chances, of the moment when one person's vigilance turned despair into a miracle. That's why we're sharing this story on Midnight Tales, because stories like Lily's remind us to stay connected, to stay vigilant, to stay human. If this tale of courage and hope touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Midnight Tales on YouTube. Your engagement helps us keep bringing you stories that inspire, that remind us all to look a little closer, to care a little deeper. You never know when one moment of awareness could change someone's entire fate. And before we go, we have one special request: drop a comment below with your thoughts. Would you have noticed that subtle hand signal in the chaos of a busy store? What would you have done in Daniel's place? Your words might spark a conversation that inspires someone else to pay attention when it matters most. Let's keep the world watching, let's keep the stories alive, and let's keep the hope burning bright. Join us on Midnight Tales for more stories that remind us of the power of kindness, courage, and second chances.